With all the new DC news happening in the last couple of weeks, we really haven't gotten any updates on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom in quite a while. And now director James Wan has dove in and given us a pretty interesting update, talking about how this movie was impacted by the new James Gunn DCU and suggesting a pretty clear future for the character. So let's dive into what he said. Well, unfortunately, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom seemingly has been delayed more times than The Flash, and that's quite a record. But the film will finally premiere this December, and the long-awaited sequel will arrive for fans. Now, there's no secrets out there that this particular movie has been through several rounds of reshoots, and we even heard about several really bad screen testings. Now, the first Aquaman movie was a smash and did over $1 billion worldwide back in 2018. That's right, the first movie came out 5 years ago, and there are a lot of questions about the new film and how well it will do after a streak of DC failures. Black Adam did pretty poorly, Shazam! Fury of the Gods bombed, and even though The Flash looks like it's a phenomenal movie, its initial box office predictions are far from what I'm sure everybody wanted. Now, there are many questions about the future of Aquaman and Momoa. Will this version of Aquaman continue? Will Momoa take up the role of Lobo? All of this is on James Gunn's desk, and we really don't have any news. But director James Wan did have some interesting things to say when he recently talked with a Hollywood Reporter. Wan was asked how much adjusting he had to do since the formation of DC Studios and the apparent DCEU to DCU reset that The Flash is going to deliver in the upcoming film. And what he's had to say was pretty interesting. In the article, he actually said, "I've had to make adjustments all along the way. The DCU has been through a lot of different versions, and one of the things that was challenging about this film was keeping track of what's going on. Fortunately, the Aquaman universe is pretty far removed from the rest of the world. We're going to many different underwater kingdoms that are not necessarily related to what's going on with the other movies and characters, so we're standalone in that respect. So I can just tell my story on its own without it being affected too much, but at the same time, I have to be mindful of what's happening." So what did James Wan really say here? What he had to say here was interesting to me because it's clear this movie will indeed take place after the DCU reset. This to me seems to clarify a really big question about the future of Aquaman, who Aquaman in the DCU will be, and the status of Jason Momoa. It's pretty clear to me based on his statement that this movie will indeed take place in the new DCU, and we have heard that Momoa is part of The Flash in a post-credit scene seeming to confirm exactly this. The status of Jason Momoa has been a big question for a lot of fans since this actually happened, and Momoa teased his future in the DC universe, potentially as another character, Lobo. Aquaman absolutely has to be part of any DC film universe, and Momoa is pretty popular with fans, and if he does stay, that is an indicator that other actors or actresses, specifically Gal Gadot, could indeed continue in their roles. It's just a question of how James Gunn forms all this and what happens moving down the road. Ultimately, all these characters could be recast, but it does sound like right now, based on what James Wan said, that they made some adjustments in this movie to fit into the new DCU, and it will indeed be part of that world in one way, shape, or form. Exactly when we see Jason Momoa suit up as Aquaman again, or if we see him suit up as Aquaman again, well, that's the big question, and for that, well, we're gonna have to wait and see.